Hello, welcome to the West Bay Lines. I'm Don Birch, the current president of West Bay Model Railroad Association. We're here in a former Southern Pacific freight depot. Our club is 75 years old and has been in this building the entire time. But the layout you see today has been built in the last 11 years. It is a two-level HO layout in a 40 by 26 room with about 500 feet of main line. There's a large helix connecting the two levels, and there's a separate room with upper and lower staging. The West Bay Lines is a fictional railroad that runs north and south somewhere in the western U.S., connecting major transcontinental railroads. It was designed to be transition era, the 40s through the 60s, though we run a lot of modern diesels on it. With operations in mind, there are lots of industries along the way, plus a major yard in both the upper and lower levels. As our northbound freight leaves staging, we pass a country scene and then enter the Rockford yard, passing a large diesel facility on the way, and then moving past the classification tracks. If this train had cars to interchange, it would do so here. Along the back of the yard are several industries on spurs that can be switched during operations. Some of them are furniture companies, hardware companies, a newspaper, and others. Then our train goes around the corner and heads further north. Our freight train is leaving Rockford Freight Yard and passing under the Rockford Passenger Station. It has to hold up for a Caltrain to move out in front of it. The Rockford station and platforms were built by Lauren Mercer, and I have to say the poor passengers have been standing there for eons, but funny, they never get onto the train when it stops there. As our freight train finally gets back onto the main after the Caltrain has left, it passes by a large REA facility built by Clyde King with interiors by Carl Sunken. As our train leaves a tunnel, it crosses a massive steel trestle built by Clyde King. It enters an area of several heavy industries, including an ore mine by Bill Holst, a dock by Clyde King, and a coal mine by Tom Van de Bosch. As it comes around the bend, it goes by several feed plants, some of which are derelict. One thing to notice is the zombie wedding going on next to the derelict feed plant. You may have noticed some of the signals along the way. They respond to the train if you watch them closely. At the end of the peninsula, we pass by a fruit packing plant by Bill Holtz. As our freight train comes around the corner, it goes across a steel truss bridge by Clyde King and over a deep canyon by Bill Holst. Be sure to notice the train to nowhere crossing under the bridge. Further along, we get to a beet processing plant, also by Clyde King. Around the corner is the winery by Carl Sonkin. You might also want to notice the backdrops along this peninsula. They're all by Jessica King, Clyde King's daughter. She's a wonderful artist and has done most of the backgrounds on our layout. Further along, we get to Menlo Park, where we have to wait for a passenger train to leave. Menlo Park's the only real location on our layout, and the station and the green building in the foreground are real buildings that were here in Menlo Park. In fact, the green freight house is the one we are in right now. Once the passenger train leaves and we have to wait for a green signal, when it finally comes, we can proceed around the corner. Waiting for the green signal at Menlo Park highlights the new signaling system that has been recently installed on our layout. This was a project that I worked with Rich Eberly, and it is a ABS automatic block system, and it has about 60 masts, dwarfs, cantilevers, and bridges around the layout. It is fully computer controlled by a CAT system that runs on top of JMRI and has current sensors and IR detectors in the track to keep track of where the locomotives and trains are. It is functioning, and we use it in our operations. In the future, it can be converted to CTC, Central Train Control, if we decide to add a dispatcher to our operations. Our freight train is coming around the corner to a town that has a pickle plant in it. This is an unusual feature, though the freight train we're on has a pickle car on it. There's also a very cute little town. All of these models are by Tom Van de Bosch. And at the far end of it, there's a swimming hole. We don't know if that lake tastes like vinegar, but the swimmers seem to like it. As our train completes the final stage of the lower level of our layout, it passes a sun-kissed canning plant, which necessitates an icing station next to it to fill refrigerator cars. This is a nice station built by Carl Sonken. The other things along this area are a lot of employee housing in the classic SP colors. Then our train heads into a tunnel, which is the start of a 5-loop helix that takes it to the upper level. We're in our club room now, and I'm showing off the display that shows the signaling system operation on our layout. As I mentioned, we're set up for operations, and to help our operators, since we don't have a dispatcher at this time, we did install a signaling system that lets them know what's coming up toward them on their next loop around the layout. So as you see on this display, we have the entire layout, upper and lower, laid out. It's in CATS, which is an overlay on JMRI. And as I said before, we have current sensors and IR sensors to keep track of where the trains are. And then the CATS program actually sets the aspects of each of the signal masts to be correct. This was an installation that we just finished about a year ago, and it seems to be working very well.
Hi, I'm Clyde King. I'm currently a board member here at the West Bay Club. I joined in 1968, and through those years up until now, I've done everything from secretary to treasurer to president, vice president, almost everything you can name. This club was actually started in 1947. Two of the original members, Guy Fonda and Henry Sprague, one was an O scaler and one was an S scaler. In Guy Fonda's house, they had both a O scale and an S scale layout. And they decided in the spring of 1947 to form the West Bay Club. They talked about it to other people who joined the club. They sought to find another place to actually have a home, but were unable to do that, so they continued using Guy Fonda's home and layout until 1950, when the SP said that they could start leasing the building that we're currently in because the Railway Express Agency was no longer using it. So in late 1951, they moved into this building and started building the original layout, which consisted of O scale on the bottom, S scale in the middle, and HO on the top. It was configured in more or less a dog bone shape, allowing both the larger scales, O scale and S scale, to navigate as large a radius as possible. We've been in this building since 1951, and it was determined 11 years ago now that we would take out the original layout and build the current all HO scale layout. This layout was completed about 2 years ago, except for the addition of signaling, which Don talked about. And in this room, which we call our club layout room, there's a number of artifacts. We have a Western Pacific sign hanging on the wall, which is originally from the building in San Jose. We have also the chairs that we sit in during our meetings, and they're from an SP lounge car. We have a number of photographs around the building. We also have a display of builder's plates and also a headlight from an SP steam locomotive, number 2837, which is sitting on top of our filing cabinets, but it shines right at your face when you walk in the door, so you can't miss it. We have some members that have also built traction cars from a larger scale. These were done by Granville Leonard a number of years ago. He's since, of course, passed on, but they still grace our room in here. We have, of course, a library that consists of all number of books, different railroads, and they're available to all of our club members. And it's in a cabinet that on the top houses lanterns from different railroads. And these, of course, are non-operable, just decorating on the top of the cabinet.
Our train has just emerged on the upper level from a 5-level helix tunnel and is approaching the town of Indigo. Indigo started out as a small village that was set up while we were still building the layout for an open house. But as you can see, it has morphed into a substantial town, much like many of the towns in the U.S. We're just passing a major petroleum complex. This is another Tom Van de Bosch building that he used his industrial engineering experience to make it very accurate. We're passing an old city in the background with a line of brick factory buildings and tenements. Clyde King built most of the building structures. Carl Sunken did most of the details in the interior shadow boxes. Be sure to notice the active welding shop at the very end of the string of buildings. Well, after leaving the old city, we've entered farm country, past a prosperous farm with the rainbow over it. And past several grain silos. Uh-oh, looks like we might be in Kansas. After passing the wheat fields, we move back into tree country and pass a really nice lumber yard built by Bill Holst. Our train has reached the town of Mercer. Mercer was a creation of Lauren Mercer, who is a former president of the club, but has unfortunately passed. As a memorial to him, we renamed the town in his honor. He did a lot of creative things with the city, with many details. We've also done internal lighting on many of the buildings since then. Beyond that, we reach Mercer Yard, which is the major yard on the upper level, where we do switching of local trains between through trains. There's a lot of activity there during operations. Beyond Mercer Yard is the steam repair facility. It has a 130-foot turntable and a number of facilities to coal, sand, and water steam engines. As we come around the bend to Bishop, we have to wait for a hotshot PFE train to pass us. As we cruise on through, we see the big cement plant at Bishop. This is another Tom Van Bosch creation and shows again his industrial and engineering experience. As we turn the corner, we find ourselves in Alpine country, following a creek through 3 tunnels on our way to our final destination, which is North Staging. On the way there, we see a very detailed sawmill created by Clyde King and a snow shed on the way into North Staging. If you're interested in more of our train action, you can come to one of our open houses, which are every month, first and third Saturdays between 1 and 4 p.m. We're located at 190 Merrill Street, which is next to the Menlo Park station and along the Caltrain tracks. We also hold operating sessions about once a month. These are based on switch lists generated by JMRI, and we use our signals and courtesy to let our trains operate smoothly since we do not have a dispatcher. If you're interested in possibly joining one of our operating sessions, you can leave us a message on our Facebook page. It's www.facebook.com/small case WBMRRA. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to seeing you sometime.